Welcome to everyone who's joining. We're so glad you're here. If you are looking for the webinar on building a career in cybersecurity, protecting against phishing attacks and ransomware with Identity Pass by Prembly and Nexford University, you're in the right place. We are going to give it a few moments to get started and let the room fill up. If you want to let us know in the chat where you're joining from and what you're looking forward to this weekend, that would be great. We're going to give it a little more time, but we're really glad that you're here. We have some exciting guests and are looking forward to having a great conversation. So welcome to those of you joining from Nigeria. My name is Jennifer Bangura, and I'm Nexford University's Director of Career Innovation. And we're really happy to have you here and excited to learn from Identity Pass by Prembly and, all of their expertise related to cybersecurity and phishing attacks, ransomware. We know it's a hot topic and a lot of people are interested in what it takes to build a career in this space, but also, learn about a company who has already established themselves. We will get started shortly. Again, thank you to those of you who are letting us know where you're joining from, something you're looking forward to this weekend. And we will get started with housekeeping. Please, if you see in the bottom or somewhere on your screen, your Zoom screen, the Q&A, throughout the webinar, we will be taking your questions. It's most helpful if you put them in that little Q&A box so we can keep track of them. And we will have time for Q&A at the end. So please keep doing the great listening that you all are doing. We want this to be as interactive as possible. So add your questions in the Q&A. And yeah, we're excited that we have folks joining who are wanting to deepen their knowledge in cybersecurity. You're in the right place. We'll go ahead and get started. So I'll invite our guests to join us on camera, and we can kick things off. So we have here, we have Sheon Alabi from Identity Pass by Prembly, and we have Mayowa David. Sheon is the Director of Data Partnerships, and Mayowa is a cybersecurity engineer. And what I thought was really interesting as we were chatting before the webinar started is that they both are representing maybe any path that you could imagine in a cybersecurity field. So both the technical and the non-technical. So I think that's pretty interesting because we're all going to learn, no matter which side you're coming from, if the technical cybersecurity path, or if you're interested in pursuing a non-technical path in the cybersecurity industry, you're going to have something here for you. So again, thank you to everyone who's joining. We're really glad that you've made the time. And I'd love to turn it over to our guests and for them you all to introduce yourselves. Let us know what it is you do. Well, first, if you can share a little bit more about Identity Pass by Prembly, and then share what it is that you do within the organization, so we can better understand that and how, a little bit about your journey getting there. So Sheon Alabi, could you please, maybe you can kick us off with your intro on Identity Pass by Prembly, and then share more about your experience and background.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm also excited to be here, Jennifer. Thank you so much for having us on this panel. So my name is Sheon Alabi, and today I represent Identity Pass by Prembly, and I work as the Director of Data Partnerships. And basically my role within the team is to give us access or help us to get access to different data endpoints. So you would understand what I mean by that by the time I explain what we do as Identity Pass. So Identity Pass by Prembly is a security and compliance organization. By that, I mean that we help our organizations or our customers to comply to the regulatory policies surrounding AML, that's anti-money laundering, and KYB, KYC being know your customer, know your business policy practice, regulatory frameworks today that is required for any business that is trying to do anything that requires some level of due diligence. So for example, you want to open a bank account, it is expected that the bank should know a little more about you. Sometimes it is expected that it should know a lot more about you. So depending on whether it is a basic due diligence or whether it is detailed due diligence, right? So what we help them to do is to have access to this kind of information digitally. So before now, most people, what they did, or most banks and organizations would have to do manual background checks on their employees on their employees or their intending customers, especially during the process of onboarding. So during that onboarding process, they want to check, is the address submitted, is it correct? Is the ID that is submitted, is it, does it match? Is this person really who they say they are? And so in the journey of trying to help organizations transact business better and also ensure that users have a more seamless onboarding experience, Identity Pass by Prembly, the co-founders, saw a very big need and a very huge opportunity that can better foster seamless and smooth business transactions, both on the organization side and also on the customer side. So that's just to talk briefly on what we do. We do this today. We're able to do this today. We do this in Nigeria. We do this in about 6 to 7 African countries when it comes to data verification, meaning you want to verify IDs, you want to verify phone numbers, you want to verify a few other things or other endpoints. We can do that in a few countries like Ghana, Kenya. We can do it in South Africa and other countries like that. Meanwhile, if you want to verify documents, there's a dynamic to it. But if you want to verify documents, we can do this for you in more than 30 countries in Africa. But so that I don't go, too far. If you want or you require a bit more information about what we do, we can always drop a link, for you, and you can reach out to any of our agents, sales representatives, and they will take you through properly on what we do. However, the idea behind what we also do is a lot tailored towards reducing identity fraud and cybersecurity crimes. Today, a lot of organizations have begun, have embraced or adopted digital transformation, meaning they're now using more digital technologies. They are now going, into the cloud and transacting businesses digitally. And because of the advent of this move, a lot of crimes or cyber crimes have also evolved, which means that as someone sitting down like Identity Pass, for example, sitting down and coming up with solutions, innovative solutions to help people transact businesses seamlessly and faster, help businesses improve on their bottom lines and then, increase turnover. Someone else is sitting down there thinking of how to ensure that they also, disrupt this whole process by, introducing identity theft, different types of cyber crimes that would also hinder these businesses. So as the good people are innovating, the cyber criminals are also innovating. And so because of that, what we really try to do, or what we strive to do, is to reduce identity theft and also reduce fraud across board. So especially when you're dealing with financial transactions. So one other major part that I must mention here is, because now we're talking data, people's personal data. We are very big on data privacy, and we abide by the regulatory policy in whatever jurisdiction that we are doing business in. I'll just stop here for now, because I know there will be a lot more time to ask further questions. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's a great overview, and yes, truly more needed than ever what you all are building. Could you share a little bit more about your background and how did you come to work at Identity Pass by Prembly, and what does a day-to-day kind of look like with the work that you're doing in data partnerships?
Okay. So I have a background in sales, key account management, and obviously partnership and strategy. So before now, I used to work in the telecom space, telecommunication space mostly. It's still ICT, however, very focused on just, internet connectivity and helping a lot more people get online. And then, so I've had that journey now. I've been on this journey for about 11 to 12 years. And from there, I have, gradually transitioned fully into a tech, the tech space now. And one of the things that caught my attention, or that made this transition, or made me interested in this kind of organization I'm working in today, is because at some point, even the traditional telecommunication companies began to delve into technology products. So, for example, you would have a company like Liquid Telecoms change their name from Liquid Telecoms to Liquid Intelligent Technologies. So, because now they incorporated not just telecommunication, the physical layer of connectivity, they began to incorporate things like cybersecurity. They began to incorporate things like technology solutions, different, because this is a very big and wide space. So into what they do, and these began to cut across board. You had other smaller organizations and other even bigger ones like PCCW, began to really expand their frontiers, such that now they are just called technology companies. I mean, a very typical example, if you're familiar with MTN, is is also now a technology company. They've rebranded as a technology company. So not just trying to, help you with your GSM connections and all, but now giving you solutions, digital solutions alongside as a full bouquet. So these, I think, naturally, I just, eased into it, because even the space I was in was also beginning to have a lot of interest in the technology space. So it began to pique my interest. And also, we began to look into different better ways of doing things. We began to look at agile methodologies, Scrum framework, and a lot of all these other, Kanban, and all these other kind of technology, software solution tailored skills. And so naturally, my interest got piqued, and I began to delve into, this space, and I just began to study more, and it took a few courses here and there. And today, I found my way into Identity Pass. And what I'm doing today is data partnerships. Basically, my day-to-day role involves, to be able to verify customers, for example, we need to have access to databases, not just any databases, but the original sources, right, of this data. For example, if you were to submit a national ID card as a form of ID, as a form of identification in your process of opening an account, I keep using that because it's something most people can relate to. Then they would want to verify that against the government database, right? Because who better to have the right repository of data, apart from the person who says I am the one handling or giving out the national IDs. So my job, or my role, is to connect, strike a relationship or a partnership between Identity Pass and the data sources, the direct data sources. Reason is that the integrity of the data we're also using to verify is very important. You don't want to have someone verify your data and return information that is not correct. So that is one of the things I do. I connect to the databases, the data sources, exact data sources where this information can be verified. So my role is to do that, bring in that partnership, that collaboration, so that we can have easy and smooth verification processes. That's what my day-to-day looks like. Of course, there's more to that, but that's just the basic thing that I do. And this is not just limited to, sorry. Oh, okay, please go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to say that this is not just limited to government organizations. We also do this with private organizations. Thank you.
That's wonderful. And we shared in the chat the recent report that you all released on cyber threat intelligence and proactive defense strategies for African fintechs, which is super exciting. And I hope people will check that out. Because opportunities like this to me are just so rich, because we're getting to understand your business, your background, what you all are doing. And I feel like people are going to be able to connect a lot of dots for how, maybe they're going to navigate their own career to build a career in the space. and also just to better understand, like maybe identity passed by Prembly's products are something that their company or they themselves are going to be able to use. So thank you so much for sharing, Shayon. And Maya, may we turn it over to you? Could you share a little bit more about who you are, how you came to Identity Passed by Prembly, and what it is that you do?
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you once again. My name is Mayowa. Currently at Identity Pass, I work as a cybersecurity engineer. I've been doing this for more about 7 years now. So I have an engineering background, right? I didn't study cybersecurity back in school. So basically, this means that irrespective of your background, right? If you want to become a cybersecurity person, it's doable. Humanities, anything you study, right? It's just about you being willing to put in the work and absorb knowledge as much as you can. So I actually started out my career in telecoms too, right? I was a network engineer, right? Then I moved on to network security engineer. Then I worked in a couple of banks where I actually honed my skills, and now with Identity Passed by Prembly. So majorly with Identity Passed by Prembly, my job is, I would say, broadly into two phases, right? For the company and then for the users, right? So it's my duty or it's my responsibility to protect the organizational resources, right? So what that entails is I develop security strategy and also implement them, and also make sure that the applications that developers in-house are building, right, are actually fit for use and secure enough for our users, right? So that also tallies to the fact that I keep watch of the organizational resources, making sure that the our users and staff themselves are very much aware of cybersecurity threats. For example, the blogs you see. So put out blogs out there to make sure that people are aware of the kind of threats that they are susceptible to. Yeah. So this is just a synopsis of what I do with Identity Pass.
That's great. Thank you. And you all are a global remote team. So I've interacted with employees from your company who are based in the US, in Nigeria. And my understanding is you have people who are based all over the world, which is really exciting. And I imagine adds another layer of complexity when it comes to these cybersecurity attacks and preparing for them and being a company that's remote first, but also secure. So I'm just thinking about that. So we have some broad buckets that we're going to talk through today. So first is understanding phishing attacks, combating ransomware threats, and then building a career in cybersecurity. And in that last section, we will ask a few questions. We only have another 40 minutes. So we only but I think it's super interesting from these pieces that you all have shared, again, from this non-technical and technical background of how people are able to build career paths in that space, and something that at Nexford University that we are always excited to learn more about and share with our Nexford community of how people can build their own careers in growing fields like yours. So Shayon, some of these questions might go to Maya, and I want you to hop in if this has come up in your work. But Maya, we're going back to square one, thinking about these understanding phishing attacks. So what is a phishing attack, and how does it differ from other types of cyber attacks that are out there?
Okay, awesome. So a phishing attack in its rudimental form, right? It's just an attack where somebody tries to, impersonate another. So in a scenario-based kind of response, right? Say Jennifer receives an email from somebody who claims to work with MCN, right? So if this is an attack, it's called a phishing attack, right? So essentially, it's just an attacker trying to impersonate an organization, right, that you trust, or an entity or an individual that you trust, into is impersonating the organization just so you can do something, probably reveal information sensitive information, that is, so probably username, password, credit card details, or personal information, right? So that's essentially what a phishing attack is. An attacker trying to, impersonate an individual or an organization you trust, and it can be really messy if an individual falls or an organization falls into falls for such attacks. I mean, there are 1,001 examples of where it has happened and where it has resulted in huge significant loss. Yeah, so that's essentially what a phishing attack is.
Yeah, and I won't poll the room, but I'm sure everyone in here has received some form of a phishing attack. Hopefully we've avoided it. And if your company has a cybersecurity training, I know I've gone through, I don't know how many times, the cybersecurity training, and I still get caught sometimes on that email when the email comes around. So could you share, what are some real world consequences of falling victim to a phishing attack?
So I would like to piggyback on what you said last time. They can be really convincing, right? So 5-6 years back, one of the ways to find or have an understanding or guess that an attack or a message or a mail is phishing is when you notice grammatical errors, right? But nowadays, the emails and the messages are near perfect, right? Because I mean, you could literally use Google Bard or ChatGPT to spin up these messages. So you cannot even use such pointers anymore. You have to like go technical to understand that a phishing a mail is phishing, right? So is a bit difficult now, which is why, or which is why the need to sensitize people is really, really important now. We can no longer ride on luck and hope we no longer fall victims. Some of the more prominent phishing attacks are email phishing, right? Which almost everybody on this call has previously gotten, where you get a email from a fraudulent email that appears to come from legitimate source. For people in Nigeria, you would have seen it most times where email is mimicking, is coming from your bank, right? Asking you to click a link. Most times is a phishing email. Another form of phishing email is spear phishing, where so is a bit confusing to whaling, but I'm trying to try as much as possible to show the difference. So spear phishing is you targeting a particular set of people in an organization, right? So say Nexford, for example, and I want to target Jennifer. Say Jennifer has a colleague called Tom or Andrew, right? So me targeting a bucket of people is spear phishing. I know who I want to target, so that's a spear phishing. The difference between spear phishing and whaling is I'm not just targeting Jennifer, I'm targeting Jennifer's boss or the CFO or the CEO, people I know if I rake in, it's going to be good money for the attacker, right? So that is whaling. It's also a form of phishing. Other variants of phishing is also vishing. So a different pronunciation from PHI. So this is VI. That is the kind of vision that is done over voice messages. People back home would be very familiar with this. You get a call telling you from so bank that your card is blocked and all of that, and asking you to provide maybe your BVN number or your password to reset. So that's its phishing. It's voice phishing. Another very, very common form of phishing is smishing, right? Is SMS phishing, right? So that's the kind of attack that is done via SMS text messages, right? I'm sure we get that a lot. That is even very more prominent, right? So these are the very prominent form of phishing. There are other little bit more technical form of phishing, like clone phishing and link manipulation. But the very easy to understand and easy to remember are the ones I've kind of highlighted. Yeah.
Incredible. I am curious now of who started the aquatic references to all this fishing, whaling, spear fishing. It's a lot of, must be a former sailor or something.
So, so
It's actually
the
it's
truth is,
military from
yeah,
cybersecurity. Is that,
yep,
I mean,
yep. So the truth is, cybersecurity is a very interesting field, right? Because every time is actually very easy, is very relatable, right? So for example, we're going to speak about ransomware at some point. I mean, you mentioned it earlier. There are things that happen to us on a day-to-day basis. Like there are things that are very relatable. So I would always say that cybersecurity is probably the easiest out there, right? Because they're not. It's a very non-abstract field of study, right? There are things that are very, very relatable. So, which is why it's very understandable if the words, the technical jargons in it is also very relatable. Yeah.
interesting. Yes, I've been getting more WhatsApp messages of these spam groups that I'm like, okay, I'm reporting you. So, we have I think a mix here in our room of, people who are, again, interested in exploring a career in this field, and also probably who are representing already in these types of roles within their company. So what would you recommend as some best practices that people can adopt to identify and avoid phishing attempts, whatever, spear, whale, clone? You're turning me into an expert here, Maiwa. I don't know. I'm gonna be dangerous.
Okay, so for individuals, right? Hello?
Shayon, do you
Okay.
want to do some? Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll do
yeah.
some.
Yes. I mean, I would defer to Maiwa eventually, but I mean, there's just, again, because of the good work that Maiwa is already doing within, our organization, I'll just speak through one or two points, and then I'll let him handle the rest. I mean, so there are basic best practices that are expected actually of every organization, of even every individual. The first thing is you must educate yourself. You have to have some kind of knowledge. It doesn't have to be deep or technical, but it just has to be, basic enough to let you know. For example, in Nigeria, already used to it, someone calls you on the phone and begins to ask you for your account number, BVN. You already know that, okay, you know what, this is not a right call, because no bank, for example, would ask you that kind of question over the phone. Neither would they ask you to provide that, over a text message. And if you're also vigilant, you would see that you would have received some of these text messages from banks telling you that we would never ask you to provide this. We would never call you to do this. So you need to not just see those text messages or emails and take it, lightly. You need to be aware and to know that these are, just simple steps that as a person you should know. And then as an individual, I mean, as a business, basic training, constant training. Maiwa and the team, Maiwa's team does that a lot for us already at Prembly. We always have every now and again, they would take us out on a training. They would give us different topics per time to, this time it could be phishing, next time it could be ransomware. And then they'll go deep down and tell us more about it. What kind of emails, when you see this kind of email, do you think it is a real domain name? Is something missing? So for example, it should be com, and then maybe you see .co or .come, just a little here, a little there. They take us through this kind of training. So it is expected that organizations should have trainings for basic and also ultimately, sometimes advanced training sessions, just basically creating awareness and increasing awareness. And then, of course, you need to keep software updated. Do not leave your softwares without updating them. It is very important to continue to update them. Very, very important. And then there's something called think before you click. You must think about it and look again.
Is it me, Maiwa? You're still moving for me. But I love it. So we're thinking before we're clicking. I mean, this is great advice. And Maiwa, oh, I'm sorry. You good? Shayon, did you want to have more?
I'm so sorry about that. I just got locked off by my internet. Sorry about that. Yeah. So, I mean, again, think before you click, then probably, if possible, you should verify the sender of an email before you open it. And just, I'm going to let Maiwa talk about the more technical stuff now. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so to be very honest, I think Shimon has done justice to this. I think this is by tradition what we do very frequently in Prem League. Doing every month we have at least 2 security awareness trainings, right, in-house, and which is also one of the things I think every organization can can imbibe, right. People, process, technology, and of these 3, human or the human factor is actually the weakest link, right? You could put in place processes that needs to be followed. You could implement technologies that the organization has spent millions of naira or millions of dollars on, but the truth still remains, people or the human factor, the human resource is actually still, the weakest form, right? Which is why you have to essentially, non-negotiable, train your staffs to understand the risk, to these things. There's always an element of risk in it. So the fundamental training needs to be there. In cybersecurity, there are one of the two of the very prominent tenants is, you having a preventive arm and you having a proactive arm, right? So Shemo has elaborated very succinctly on the, the preventive arm, right? Having your users or having your staff or having everybody, individuals, know how to identify a phishing email, for example. What to do when they see a phishing email, don't just keep quiet. You either delete that mail or report to the appropriate authorities such that it could, be it could be armored and they could make it a point or a bulletin to make sure other people actually, look out for it. But on a more technical, so let's say, for example, you've now mistakenly clicked on those links. So certain things can allow you can put you in good stead to fight your battles. For example, having an antivirus on your solution or on your endpoint. You will know if the link you clicked actually downloaded a backdoor to your system, right? Having an antivirus will totally help you in that aspect. Having ad blocker, you can just do it from your browser. It's not exactly the only thing you can do, but it will actually put you in good state to fight CSRF and SSRF. Sorry, so these are just technical terms from some kind of attacks. Cross-site request forgery and server-side request forgery, right? They are attack vectors, right? So for the more technical things you could do, make sure you have an antivirus on your system. There are a couple of them on the internet that you could pay for, and make sure you just don't go clicking on everything you see. Be careful of the kind of sites to go. As an adage, right, which is a very popular cybersecurity saying, if you're not paying for it, then you are the product, which is just the truth. Nothing is free anywhere, right? If you're not paying for it, if the site is promising you free movies for download, and you're not paying for those movies, best believe you are the product. And how would you be the product? Probably they are installing spyware in your system, or they are installing adware on your system, a kind of malware that just continually gives you adverts, right? So these are some of the things you need to be careful about when surfing the internet. Yeah.
Wow, you both have shared such great advice and tips here. I think I know after some of my cybersecurity trainings, I'm always sending to the IT team, and I'm like, I think this is spam. They're like, no, it's just an email from your colleague. You can answer. This doesn't get you out of work. Okay, you still have to respond to those emails. Okay, so that's really helpful, and just being more aware and I think critical about what we are consuming online. So we've covered a little bit now on understanding phishing attacks. Let's shift into combating ransomware threats. And I'll just do a reminder that if people have questions, please do put them in the Q&A. We're going to have time at the end, and we will be able to ask our great speakers more about it. So again, we talked what exactly is a phishing attack, and I think I did a great job because I understand now, a little bit better. What exactly is ransomware, and how does this impact individuals and organizations?
Okay, so initially when I spoke earlier, I said that every cybersecurity term is actually coined from, or most cybersecurity terms, to be more specific, actually coined from our everyday lifestyle, right? So ransomware essentially is just from two words, ransom and software. Only in this case is from malicious software. So ransomware essentially is just a software or a malware, right, that tries to encrypt a victim's file or system, essentially locks them out of their system. Thereby, if it's for an organization, denying service, denying them the ability to provide services or service to their customers, right? So essentially, when you have ransomware on your system, on probably your laptop, what it does for you, you no longer have access to your files, and then you are prompted to either pay to get a decryptor key or a decryption key before you have access to your laptop. So that's essentially what ransomware is. Just a malicious software that is going to prohibit you having access to your resource or workload, as we speak in technical terms here.
That's so neat. And to hear, I had never thought about the origin of the words here and it being ransom software and malicious software. So that's cool. I feel like I'm getting, in case trivia night comes around, I've got some things in my back pocket now. And so how do ransomware attacks typically occur? And are there any specific entry points or vulnerabilities that cyber criminals exploit?
Yes. First off, I think we discussed one of them today, phishing mails. You could get a ransomware attack by just clicking a link from an email you receive. That's totally happened. PayPal, for example, had these issues 4 or 5 years ago, right? When they were subjected to a phishing email, and then that affected their users, right? There was also, if you're very conversant with the issue from 2017, the Maersk shipping company that had all their infrastructure down and only the one in Lagos was up because, there was no lights. That's why the server was up, right? So, but other extra, entry point for phishing, for ransomware, phishing emails, software vulnerabilities. So there's something called supply chain, where, for example, I'll try to put it in perspective. You have a laptop, for example, and then you've installed Google Chrome on your laptop, and then Google Chrome from Google gets infected from backend. Then you go ahead to update your laptop, right? And then your laptop gets infected. So it's called third-party supply chain attack, right? From there you can. I'm just using that as an example. So from there you can, have ransomware or cyber attack on your system, which is actually what happened to one of the leading IPAM solution, which I'm not going to mention. They had this issue like 2 years back. Other form of entry points for ransomware attack are actually social engineering. So also putting in perspective, probably you work in an office space that has 2,000 staff, for example, and then you see what's it called now? You see a hard drive on the floor, and then probably you've been needing hard drives for the longest time. Then you take up the hard drive and then you put it in your laptop, and then your laptop gets infected, right? This is a very easy way pen testers used to get access to the environment, right? So it's just one of the many numerous ways in which your environment can get ransomware. Yeah.
Sharon, did you have something you wanted to add?
Okay, yeah. So I just wanted to add that basically ransomware, the idea or the end goal is to ensure that people do not have access to their information. And then something that's very scary for most organizations is that there could be a data breach or a data leak. So imagine having your very sensitive information in an organization that you're probably having business with or interactions or transactions with, and then you hear that they have, they've been attacked, and then you're afraid, would my information, my very sensitive data that I would not want, out there, would it be leaked? Would it be exposed? Or would my information, would I be able to get back my information? So it's a very, very catastrophic occurrence if it happens, and it leads to so much damage in terms of, loss of, sometimes tending up to billions of dollars, legal, regulatory consequences, and so much more. But again, I feel that the question will probably get to that point. And then something very important is also an internal or insider threat. Most of the time, like Maiwa had said, there's always a human factor, when threats happen. And sometimes some person within an organization can actually facilitate, this intrusion of ransomware and other kind of malwares like that. So that's just what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Be careful who you're spending time with everywhere, personally and professionally. Who's your weakest link? Hopefully nobody, it's not going to be anyone in this room, because now everybody is equipped and knows what not to do and what to do. So that's great. So I don't know, is there anything that you wanted to highlight specifically about what makes Identity Pass by Prembly unique in this cybersecurity and ransomware space that you feel, and then especially, you've mentioned that your focus right now is in Africa, and it, but my understanding too is that you're global. So what do you all feel like is the unique angle and perspective that you all are bringing to companies operating on the continent or who have customers on the continent and beyond? Maybe that's
okay. Okay, so I'll speak from my perspective, and then I would also allow my own to speak. So in terms of, maybe I should ask back, is this in terms of the solutions that we deliver, or as a company, how we're combating,
I suppose the solutions that you're delivering, I think it's exciting. I mean, I really think everyone on this call has to be experiencing some sort of phishing attack on a weekly basis, if not daily, by email, by WhatsApp. And it's, of course, as you all have covered here, this is impacting us personally and then professionally. So we definitely, I'm feeling, and I imagine others are, the prevalence of, the increase of these types of attacks happening. So I'm curious, just because I think, I get so excited about what you all are building, and I think it's so cool. But what the specific or the unique angle is of your work in Africa.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll pick this from about 3 perspectives. So one of the things that we do, and we do well, is thought leadership. So for example, we're here today having this conversation and also helping to sensitize people. So this is like cybersecurity education or awareness creation. We're very big on that, and oftentimes we also partner with other organizations to put out very useful information there for people, for our intending customers or existing customers, on how they can become more aware, and also how they can become proactive, and also have some preventive mechanisms in place. So that's one of the things that we do very well, thought leadership. And then on the technology solutions side of things, we have different solutions today that caters to different aspects of cybercrime. So one major thing, obviously by the name Identity Pass, that we do is prevention of identity theft. So we do not, we significantly reduce, identity theft today. So one of the things we pride ourselves is that when you ask us, what do? We tell you, we pride that we are able today to allow Africans to transact business globally. Today. Before now, to be able to have access to some kind of services and solutions outside, of your country, for example, or outside Nigeria, being my country, or maybe your country from wherever you are in Africa, and transact globally, maybe with some international organizations. It was a bit more difficult because people, verifying who you are was a bit more difficult before because it was more manual. People, organizations would have to spend lots and lots of money to be able to do basic due diligence because they'll probably have to send someone physically to go there, verify the address, check the IDs are submitted against the government database. For example, in Nigeria, maybe go to NIMC to say, this someone submitted this, is it valid? And, but now what we have done is that we have brought all these conversations or all these solutions to the digital space, saying today you want to transact business in America, why not? You're a Nigerian, fine, submit your IDs, give me your address, your phone numbers, and I would verify them, with a click of a finger, just on Identity Pass platform. So we have different endpoints that helps to cater to different kinds of fraud or cyber fraud rather, online. So again, we have something called, so again, I spoke about KYC being know your customer, KYC and KYB being know your business. So that's the explanation I just made before. So today you can now verify the owners of a business that you want to transact with. Who are they? Are they who they say they are? Are they on any sanction lists, globally or in a particular country? Are they on any politically exposed persons list that I should become, very wary of? So for example, as it applies to anti-money laundering regulations, there are specific compliance requirements that are required for anyone who wants to transact business, especially digitally. So all our solutions are tailored around helping businesses and people, individuals, transact in a more secure environment, in a way that you do not transact business with someone who is known as probably a drug peddler or someone who is on a financial sanctions list somewhere in the world, and he just comes and whisks himself into your organization. And then before you find out who he is, a lot of damage has been done. So we do have different levels and layers of solutions that are tailored specifically to tackling different kinds of cyber security issues. Again, cybersecurity is very wide, and so these aspects are the things. So identity verification, and then things around data privacy are the things that we're very big on, that we're tackling today.
That's great.
Also, I'd like to say that we have different reports that have been released around this. So if you want more information, we can always, I think we'll provide them for you, and you can dive deeper into how we're solving this in Africa today. So thank you.
And I love your reports. The content is so rich, and I've seen other reports that you all have released, including the one that we've linked here, and we will share links to this report and any others that you all want to in the follow-up. Also, you have a fabulous graphic designer, because it's so you really make it easy to consume, I think, the way that you have like the layout. I think it's interesting, the parallels that I see, as we're going to transition now to talking about building a career in cybersecurity, and Mayowa, you were talking about this before we started the webinar, this parallel of like really being careful about what you're sharing online and how it can be manipulated, both your voice now, the pictures themselves, and I think about this, my background being in career services, career development of, we are all now our own brand ambassadors. And so, how you are either creating your identity online for better or for worse, people are seeing that whether you know it or not, and especially when you can screen grab something, even disappearing WhatsApp status updates and stories, what we're putting out there. So I'd love to put a little bit of this career lens on it, on the conversation, and think, what is, if you can give, and this is a big question, but an overview of the cybersecurity industry landscape. And it sounds like, Mayowa, you've come up through the experiential learning side, and maybe, or through telecoms, and maybe somehow transitioned into cybersecurity. So if you want to use yourself as an example, but also maybe just broadly, what does a career in cybersecurity look like? And then, so we'll start with that.
Okay, so cybersecurity is a continuously growing field. So what I mean by that is the kind of challenges that the IT industry will feel as regards cybersecurity let's say some 10 years ago, right, isn't the current kind of challenges being faced, right? Or more aptly put, the challenges are now kind of expanded. So I'll give you a bit of context. 10 years ago, there wasn't so much an issue with IoT or medical device cybersecurity, right? But right now, if you're an hospital or if you're a medical facility, apart from buying the very expensive medical equipment, right? You need to also have a budget for cybersecurity because your medical devices or your IoT devices, right, also needs to be protected. We have threat actors actively targeting those devices, right? So what that means for cybersecurity enthusiasts, right, is that there is job on the market, right? If you put in the work, if you put in the skills, or if you learn the skills, right, if you put in the work, that there is job, right? There are jobs there. And it's not just IoT, right? There are fields of cybersecurity. I mean, like I said earlier, the threat landscape is escalating, like it's becoming bigger, right? There are high profile data breaches, and every time there's high profile data breaches, you can go check. What it means is there's going to be more job. Every company that has been breached over the past 5 years directly resulted into more jobs, more cybersecurity jobs for those companies. You can go verify, right? So what that means is if you're prepared and you are skilled, there's really jobs out there for you, right? And some very good field of cybersecurity that is actually, springing up right now is cloud security, for example, right? Where you are you will be very interested in securing the cloud space. So speaking about Alibaba Cloud, Azure, AWS, Google Cloud, right? I mean, I for example, for the longest time, I was more focused on Azure, right? But because of the field I mean, it's expanding every day. I decided to pursue the architect or the specialty right for AWS. So what that means is, like I said earlier, in cybersecurity, you can never stop learning. Like there's absolutely no time or any space to slack or stop learning. Like there's always something new to learn. Another field that is becoming very popular now, right, is DevSecOps. So that is DevSecOps. So bringing security into DevOps processes, right? Is popularly called shifting left, right? And it's actually a very huge field because what it means is over the next 3-4 years, right, most of these roles probably be collapsed, and then you start seeing them under platform security, for example, right? So if you're considering coming to cybersecurity, these are some of the, some of the roles or some of the subtenants of cybersecurity you might want to look into, DFIR and GRC. So if you decide to be non-technical, right, you could pursue the GRC route. Governance, risk, and compliance, right? So is a field where, for example, lawyers, right, are beginning to look into, and you don't have to be a lawyer to do GRC, for example. It's just a field for cybersecurity enthusiasts, but who don't like really want to get their hand dirty to do technical things, right? So because of the emerging threat landscape and forever increasing landscape, there is more money being pumped into the industry, right? There is more jobs. There is more visibility, right? For the industry, yeah.
Thank you. That's great. And we have a good question in the Q&A that we'll get to, but Shayon, from your perspective, what does the landscape look like? And maybe if I'm saying this correctly, like from the operations side or the operations and partnerships perspective, like you both have said that you came from telecoms, and it sounds like that's been a natural transition, but do you imagine that, I mean, this isn't like what's your 5-year plan, but what if somebody else is out there who's looking at their own current, maybe they're not working directly in cybersecurity, but they'd like to, and what that transition looks like. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So again, look at me today. I'm working in a tech company, fully tech company, and I'm not a tech person, as you can tell from the way I speak. Again, there's always a caveat for people in business, in sales, for people in accounting, for people in human resources to actually play a part, in any of this tech company, and especially in the cybersecurity space as well. Of course, what it would require would be for you to gain, at first, basic, knowledge of what that space requires. So for example, if you're an HR person, what kind of talent are we looking for? What kind of skills are we looking out for in the people we want to employ? And then if you are the business salesperson, how do I sell a cybersecurity product? What kind of products does my company have? And how can I sell it, right? And how can I, the best way, how can I explain it, without speaking too much technical jargons and still be able to sell the product? And of course, it's expected, of course, over time that you will learn more and more. And who knows, your interest might even grow from just being a salesperson to wanting to say, probably, okay, you know what, let me go into maybe the laws and the regulatory part, like Mayowa just said, which obviously does not require you to be a lawyer, neither does it require you to be an engineer, right? And so on partnership side of things, collaborations are everything today. There's no business that can stand alone on its own. Even Google as a business needs to collaborate with other, small businesses to be able to sell their products. Today, you have partners on Microsoft, selling on different levels and layers of Microsoft. So partnerships is always going to be relevant in any field, for example. So a cybersecurity company who is focused on one aspect might need to partner with another cybersecurity company who is focused on another aspect. So you see that as jobs or technology jobs evolve, there are also non-technology caveats for people like us to come in and play a role. It will just require a bit more information. You want to learn more, you want to do a few courses here and there, basic, and then from there you go to advanced, and then from there, if you now want to go full blown, then you go full blown. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you. And so we had a question in the chat around, in the Q&A, what certificates or what do you need when you're starting out a career in cybersecurity, and how important is it? And I'll just, preface it by saying, I've been with Nexford now a little over a year and a half, and I take so much joy in hearing from our learners and alumni. And we had this one woman speak a couple of webinars ago who did her MBA. So her background, she's a lawyer by trade. She was getting more clients. Actually, I'll send you all the link to this and we can put it in the follow-up. She was getting more clients who were focusing on cybersecurity and wanting her to draw up documents. And she's like, well, I'm going to do a specialization within my MBA in cybersecurity so that I can, at least like you were talking about, Shayon, have that foundational understanding and understand the language that people are using, even though she herself is not going to be out there on the red team. I got you, Mayowa. I know about some red team. No? Working in cybersecurity as a technical expert. So I think it's just interesting to think about in this education space, how people consume and collect knowledge and information can be different. And, there's different pathways. We do have a cybersecurity pathway program that we are just putting out there and are excited to get more folks in it. But I'd love to hear from you all and Mayowa, what you're seeing, in terms of certification, both school of experience and then, sometimes the more formal education coming through and what that is like.
Yeah, so thank you, Jennifer. So there are a couple of introductory certifications that you could do. But the most important thing is, it's not just doing those certifications, right? But actually learning from the certifications, right? There are a couple of them out there, both free and paid. Couple of those are, there's a new one, CC, by ISC Squared, certified in cybersecurity. So it's an introductory or entry-level certification. Other ones include CompTIA Security and CEH. So those are three very prominent entry-level certification that you can do cybersecurity. So I know the person who asked the question also said, how important is it in cybersecurity certifications? Unfortunately, cybersecurity is a certification heavy field, right? It's almost impossible. So it's almost impossible to get a job or to get a good job in cybersecurity if you don't have certification. That's just the sad truth, right? Because that is the first thing that actually qualifies you or validates that you know what you want to do, right? So what that also means is it's capital heavy. Like you must be ready to invest your time and resources in it. It's not just something you do half-heartedly, right? I personally, I think I have 27 valid certifications last time I checked, right? So it's something you continuously do. Like it's not something you never stop learning because there's always something new to learn. Yeah.
That's remarkable. I mean, it's inspiring. I feel like more and more in any career path to stay competitive, to stay current. I mean, certainly in cybersecurity, from what you're saying, in lots of fields, we are all, myself included, having to, get out there to make sure that we understand the landscape, the ecosystem, what's happening, so that we can understand the pain points of either companies that we're working with or internally problems that we're trying to solve, and then imagine solutions that we can create. And yeah, so that's great to hear. And I think too, what I love hearing you say is it sounds like too, you're learning on the job and pursuing formal certifications to deepen your understanding, which is you're inspiring me. Got to get out there and keep learning. Now, I don't know if this question, someone's trying to like hack into the system here, but someone says, why is it difficult to identify a phishing link? If I wanted to create a website that identified phishing links, what would I focus on? No, I'm just joking. What cybersecurity area will I need to focus on? Is this idea feasible? So someone here has a startup idea for maybe for identifying phishing links. And
So
where should they
I will start off with why it's difficult to identify a phishing link. It's not difficult to identify a phishing link. You just have to pay attention to it, right? So for example, you get an email from a random person, right? And then the mail is well composed. Again, I've ruled out the fact that it's difficult to, so the traditional way to identify a phishing email before or in the past used to be improperly worded emails, but that does no longer cut it, right? Because of ChatGPT and Grammarly, for example, they're going to give you well-worded emails, right? So, but the very easy ones is when you hover your mouse around so on the email header, there is from and there's to, right? If you hover your mouse around it, if it doesn't tally with what you see from who sent it, best believe it's a phishing link, right? Because that's actually when you hover around, what you see is actually the sender that actually sent it to you. That's just one of the numerous ways, to identify a phishing link. Another best practice is, for example, if you get an email from a bank and has a link attached, don't go ahead clicking that link. Instead, go search for that link on the original website of that bank. That is one way to avoid, falling prey to phishing link. So it's not exactly difficult, but you just have to, have the right amount of attention paid to these things. Yeah.
This is great. Thank you so much, Maiwa, Sheon, Identity Passed by Prembly. We are out of time, and we're going to follow up with the recording. We'll include a link to the great report that you all released. And if folks have additional questions or you want to learn more, you can just respond to that email and someone will be in touch with you. Like I said before, I'm Jennifer Bongora. I'm Nexford University's Director of Career Innovation. And we are really so grateful to be here, and that you all, Maiwa and Sheon, and everyone who attended have made the time to learn along with us. Hopefully it's inspired some of you as it has inspired me. And we'll look forward to seeing you online safely. And have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
you. Thank you very much.